Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 191st ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
So far, I'm doing great, Cameron. How about you?
Yeah, it's pretty early in the morning to be doing anything other than great, unless you had a road rage on the way in.
I didn't. Not this time. No.
Do you have some caffeine in your system?
A little bit. Yeah, kind of just really starting to settle in. You know?
Yeah, I can't operate without it.
Yeah, you've really been on the coffee train recently, right?
Yeah, well, Olivia is 7 months old now, and she is not sleeping the best lately. Teeth coming in and stuff. So, yeah, it's been a little bit of a struggle to get a good night's sleep, and she still wakes up to eat in the middle of the night. So, yeah.
Gotta have it.
Not sleeping the best, so I've become addicted to caffeine, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
Because it's also delicious. So
coffee in the morning, coffee at night.
Coffee at supper time.
Supper time.
Yeah. Kyle, we're at 395 YouTube subscribers. 5 away from 400. That's pretty cool. Did you ever think we'd have that many subscribers on YouTube?
I don't know. Not really.
Is it a little weird thinking about how many people will listen to your voice?
I try not to think about it, honestly. I don't really I don't really love public speaking, that kind of stuff, or anything like that.
Well, it's just us here.
But we're just in here, just the three of us. But I know there's a few of you out there that are hearing this, but I try not to think about that. But I know you guys are all wonderful people, so I'm not too worried.
All right, I won't ever bring it up again. Just us here. But yeah, 5 subscribers away from 400. If you are listening to this and not subscribed, we'd appreciate that. Also, leave us a review if you're listening to audio only on a podcast service. And you can support us directly on Patreon, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. This week, we're going to talk about the NFL draft and transfer portal stuff for football and basketball. Also, I wanted to mention, did you see that they're doing a little alumni game in July? It was just announced, the Bowers Carroll alumni game.
Yeah, I think I saw something about that on Twitter, but I don't know anything about it, to be honest.
It looks like they're just going to play some basketball.
That sounds good.
At Mizzou Arena, July 16th. So hopefully there's a way to watch that, stream it or something.
Do we know who else is in it yet?
I think, no. I don't think anybody else has been announced yet. But that'll be fun to see who they get back in town for that. Where should we start? Should we start with let's talk about JJ Hester. JJ Hester is in the transfer portal. Just completed his freshman season at Mizzou. 12 receptions, 225 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But he will not be back.
Yeah, that news came late last night. Kind of surprising, to be honest. 4-star recruit from Tulsa, and kind of seemed to show flashes last year, and looked explosive and athletic at times. And I don't really know exactly what's going on with this, but we can certainly hope that it's because other younger wide receivers are really stepping up. Maybe it's Dominic Lovett that's taken on a bigger role. Obviously, Luther Burden's in the room now. There's other people that are going to see the field in the wide receiver room, and maybe he just felt like playing time was going to be similar to last year, not as much as he would want to be out there. So hopefully he's doing all right, and he'll land somewhere else and get more playing time.
Yeah, I can't imagine he would have trouble finding a nice landing spot.
Yeah.
So we could maybe imagine that Burden, Lovett, Dove, Cooper, and Barrett Bannister maybe were all ahead of him.
Potentially.
So if that's the case, it's pretty understandable that he might look elsewhere.
Yeah,
and obviously, there's more freshmen than just Burden to contend with. And Missouri is going to be after some big-time wide receivers in the next couple classes. So I think this is just kind of what comes with the territory when you're recruiting at a pretty high level and you have one position group in particular that's just kind of loaded.
Yeah, I feel like we see a lot of transfers, especially in the football side, go to a lower level just to get more playing time. I wouldn't be surprised if JJ Hester could land at another Power 5 spot and see the field a lot.
Yeah, I agree. So wish him the best. And luckily, got lots of depth at wide receiver, so it shouldn't hurt too bad. But yeah, I'm disappointed that we won't be able to see what he could have become later in his career. So NFL draft, it starts tonight. So we wanted to get in here early and hopefully get this episode out in time for people to listen to it before the draft. But probably most people listen to it maybe as it's happening or after. But
and probably no Mizzou guys getting drafted tonight.
That's true. So yeah, no big deal. My Carolina Panthers, I think, are picking 6th. And I'm just praying that they do not draft a quarterback.
They need one.
They need one, but the answer is not here, and it's definitely not at pick number 6.
Yeah, the quarterback class is seemingly pretty weak this year, almost historically bad, at least at this point where we are.
Well, and just with how inflated the quarterback position has been, in the last couple decades.
Yeah.
It's like, it always ends up where, the quarterback class is okay to, there's some good players, but then somehow all these teams talk themselves into taking them in the top 5.
Yeah, their values just inch up the closer we get to the draft.
Got to get them before someone else does.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems like that won't be happening this year, but I wouldn't put it past the Panthers, honestly.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Malik Willis go there. Well, real quick, do you regret them not picking Justin Fields last year?
Yes.
Okay. Well, sorry
they've made some terrible decisions with quarterbacks in general. Going
not
back
sold
to
on
the
Darnold.
No, but that wasn't even the worst one. I feel like the Teddy Bridgewater signing was worse than trading for Darnold, honestly. And if they had just done one or the other, I think I would be okay with it. But doubling down on a veteran that hasn't done much, I don't know. Just draft offensive line. Tank this year, get a quarterback next year. That's what I think. Chiefs are going to get a wide receiver, everybody thinks.
Yeah, the Chiefs have 2 picks at the back of the first. I definitely think they have to draft a wide receiver with one of those 2 picks. I think it's possible Traylon Burks could be that far back.
Boo.
Don't really like him right now, but if the Chiefs drafted him, then I would maybe change my tune on him. I also think it's possible the Chiefs could trade up. So
what about Jameson Williams?
I would love for Jameson Williams to be available at the back of the first, but I just don't see it. He's just so unbelievably talented. The only way that's possible is because he's coming off the ACL, and maybe teams are, your first round pick is usually somebody that's ready to contribute immediately, and I don't know if Jameson Williams is ready to do that. So he could fall, and I would love that if they could get him at the back of the first. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Chiefs do.
Miko Hardman thinks that they don't need another speed guy. He thinks he's ready to step up.
I disagree.
Okay.
They do have MVS now.
Right.
But that's not the guy of the future.
All right. So for Missouri Tigers, I was looking at some mock drafts, looking at the list of eligible guys from Mizzou. Tell me if you think I'm wrong, I really only see 3 guys that even have a chance of being drafted. I think 2 of them definitely will, and the third, it's marginal. He might be a late round pick, might be one of the first undrafted free agents signed.
I think I agree with you there.
So I think the first guy off the board will be a Caleb Evans, and I think he will probably go in the 3rd round, maybe 4th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Caleb Evans, Mizzou was recruiting him last summer. It seemed like he had a chance to be a pretty highly drafted guy down the road. I think his stock has fallen a little bit since what we thought it could be at that time. But I agree, he could be a 3rd round pick. I think I see him maybe more like 4th. But, he's got really good measurables. He's tall and long. And so I feel like that's really long arms, and that's unique for the cornerback position, and so obviously that's attractive to NFL teams. But he didn't test super well at the combine. He ran a 4.46 40, which is okay, and his footwork is okay and that kind of stuff. So I think he definitely has potential to be a decent NFL cornerback, and I definitely think teams can it only takes one team to kind of fall in love with what he could be. So I would guess 4th round for Evans, but I still think he could be the first Mizzou guy.
I think he's got enough on film that will make teams satisfied with the pick.
Productive college player for sure.
And I don't know. I think he just looks better in game than he has shown in some of the like drills and stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of cornerbacks who are going to get drafted, this is not Mizzou related necessarily, but I think the first cornerback off the board, it could be a top 10 pick, is Derek Stingley Jr. from LSU. And I mean, he had to have had his worst game ever at Faurot Field.
Yeah.
2 seasons ago. He was getting absolutely destroyed. I don't know if he was like kind of hurt that game, or I don't know if he was just going through something that day, but my God, he did not look like the number one cornerback.
Yeah. LSU in general that season didn't live up to expectations coming off of the national championship. So I think it was kind of a whole team thing, but he in particular, that was obviously his worst game. Yeah. So then the other guy that I think for sure is going to be drafted, one of the all-time favorite players in the history of this podcast, Tyler Badie. Every time we talk about him, I just kind of get sad that he's not still at Mizzou.
Yeah.
But he will surely get drafted. I think, honestly, really close to where Evans goes. Yeah. I think 4th round seems about right for him, and that's what a lot of the mock drafts I've seen point towards.
Yeah, Tyler Badie might as well be my own son. I love him so much. But he is really a unique prospect where he is undersized, and that may be the reason why he goes, 5th, 6th round potentially. But we obviously know what he's capable of. He just continues to prove people wrong. That's what he's done his entire career. And he was like a 2-star recruit coming out of high school. Like, he just has always been, kind of slept on a little bit, and has
not by us though.
Not by us. Absolutely not by us. And he's has great speed, can catch the ball really well, and in today's NFL, you definitely have to have a back that can catch the ball and be a change of pace back. And I think that's one thing that separates him from this class, is there's a lot of good depth at running back in this class, but in my opinion, not a lot of guys that can catch the ball at an elite level, and I think that's what Tyler Badie does so well. I honestly think he could be one of the best pass catching backs in this class. And so, again, he kind of just is team need and how they see him, but I think he could go as early as the 4th, and extremely productive college career. I mean, as much as anybody, elite speed. So he's very well-rounded, and is really his size is the only thing that probably makes him fall in the draft.
Yeah, arguably he had the most productive season last year for any running back in the country.
Yeah.
Obviously, other players had more rushing yards, but
Kenneth Walker had more rushing yards. He does not catch passes at all at Michigan State.
Yeah, and I think if you're looking for, I feel like Tyler Badie is the prototypical like secondary back, change of pace guy, 3rd down back. I feel like he'll walk into that role on a team like day one, basically.
Yeah, think about
with potential to develop even further. Yeah,
think about a J.D. McKissick, or even Tony Pollard or something like that. Like kind of a change of pace back, like you said, that is a smaller, more electric back for sure. I think there's absolutely a role like that.
But I think I don't think he will be satisfied with that role. I think he will be, right. He sees himself as like a lead back in the NFL, I would assume. So he has always kind of had that quiet confidence at Mizzou. And when he, came back for his senior season without Roundtree, he really just like embraced that and was like, yeah, I'll be the number one guy. Like, don't even worry about it.
Yeah. In his whole career, I mean, when he had a chance at Mizzou, he was so efficient and was just he would bring in so much energy. And it was kind of like, how do you take Larry Roundtree out of the game? He's so reliable. He never fumbles. He's just a freight train like all the time. And so it was tough to get Badie in there, but whenever he proved that he deserved to see those touches.
Yeah, the just with the draft being today, it's just I've seen a lot of videos retweeted and stuff of highlights of him, and I just couldn't help but just go on YouTube, type in Tyler Badie highlights, and watch them all, because he was so fun to watch last year. And yeah, like you mentioned, even when he was giving Roundtree a break here and there in previous seasons, he was still good for like one incredible play where he would catch the ball out of the backfield and, go for 30 yards or break a tackle and turn a 5-yard gain into a touchdown randomly. So you especially saw that from like day one in him. I think a lot of Mizzou fans eventually did. And yeah, it was just like, okay, we probably should figure out a way to get this guy the ball more. And when it did become his turn and they were just feeding him the ball, he was like touching the ball 40 times in a game sometimes.
Yeah.
It was kind of scary at times, but I don't know. There was nobody else that I wanted to have the ball in their hand, basically.
Like, who else are we going to give it to?
Yeah. And he definitely covered up lackluster quarterback play his senior year tremendously.
Yeah.
So the guy that I have down as sort of a fringe pick, maybe undrafted free agent, is Michael Maietti.
Yeah, Michael Maietti, it definitely is the opposite of a NFL style prospect in the way of like his measurables. Like he's short arms, but he has brute strength, and honestly, for offensive linemen, that can be a good thing to really get leverage on the defensive lineman.
And he has good instincts.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's super smart and like so consistent. Like he never is hurt and is just plays hard every single play. So I definitely think Maietti will be one of those guys that maybe goes in the 7th, maybe gets undrafted, but absolutely has a shot to make a squad or even, kind of work himself into a rotation. He's a little bit older than maybe some other guys that, might be in his class, but I mean, he put up so many reps like on the bench press and stuff.
Right.
Like he's just an absolute monster, like strength wise, and like just his passion for playing in the game. Like some of those intangibles, he definitely has that going for him. So yeah, I definitely think he could sneak in there in the 7th round.
Before I looked at other people's thoughts in mock drafts and stuff, I really thought it was a sure thing that he'd be drafted. So I was thinking like 6th round for him, but then I don't know.
Yeah.
The people that get paid to do this maybe don't think so
it's
as
just
much. So
100% his size. He's just really short and short arms and probably not like super fast feet or anything like that. But I definitely think that he is capable of playing at an NFL level.
I only have written down Allie Green as another guy. I don't think he'll get drafted. I see him as an undrafted free agent potentially. Was there anybody else off the top of your head that maybe is in that same boat? I really think Maietti is the only other guy that will get close to being drafted.
I think you're right. Off the top of my head, I think that Allie Green's probably the undrafted free agent, and I'm sure there will be maybe a couple other guys that get opportunities.
Well, it should be exciting. It's always exciting when you have like a premier player. Like last year we had Larry Roundtree. It was really cool to see where he ended up. Mm-hmm. And this year, Caleb Evans, he doesn't have as much.
Last year was crazy actually because I think this was last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Nick Bolton in the 2nd.
Yeah.
Tyree Gillespie went in like the 4th. Mm-hmm. And who'd you just say?
Larry Roundtree.
Yeah, we had like 2 or 3 guys that went pretty high up.
But with Badie in particular, I just am intrigued to see what the running back room looks like at the team that selects him.
Yeah. Because
I feel like day one, depending on what that looks like, you'll know kind of what his role will be his rookie season at least.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Another thing I forgot to say about Badie was he had an amazing showing at the Senior Bowl. He actually didn't play in the actual game. I think he maybe had like tweaked something and didn't actually get to play in the game. But in all of the practices and like scrimmages and stuff leading up to the game, he was getting a lot of praise. Like a lot of people saying he was the best running back there and was really productive. So he just in every setting he's ever gotten a chance, he's excelled. So
yeah, and just the way he kind of transformed his body a bit just this past offseason.
Yeah.
From like his playing weight his senior year at Mizzou to slimming down and basically prepping for drills and senior bowl practice and stuff like that. That in itself was impressive to me. That just showed, he's
motivated.
Yeah, and he is just clearly has the mindset of a professional athlete.
Yeah.
And he's trying to definitely maximize what he has there. All right, so shifting gears over to basketball. Once again, there's been changes to the basketball roster. Boogie Coleman and Amari Davis are both in the transfer portal. They will not be returning to Missouri. There's 2 spots open now on the roster. Will there be more? We don't know. Who's going to fill these 2 spots? We don't know. There's rumors. There's speculation. Let's try to figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, literally last week we were just talking about. There could be a role potentially for Boogie on this team. We still haven't really just found a shooter in the transfer portal, and Boogie in a different role maybe could show that he's a capable shooter, at least somewhat consistent. But obviously that's not going to happen. He's gone. Amari Davis, I think with some of the recent additions on the team, it was just going to be difficult to see a path for Amari Davis to see much playing time, so that kind of makes sense. So,
yeah.
Literally who we have left, Caleb Brown, Kobe Brown, and Ronnie DeGray.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Are all 3 of those guys going to be on the roster next season?
I think so. May 1st is the last day that you can that's the deadline for the transfer portal to be immediately eligible. Today is the April 28th. So you've got 2-3 more days?
Yeah, I think it's over. I think those 3 guys, I'm going to make a prediction. They're staying. They'll be on the roster next year.
I agree.
I honestly always thought that the extreme roster turnover situation was exactly this.
Yeah.
But it's kind of insane that we actually hit what in my mind was the maximum amount of turnover possible.
This has got to be the most turnover I've ever seen in one season for a team I root for.
Yeah. It's pretty wild.
Unreal.
And I don't know, it's obviously not going to be like this every season moving forward, but the way with transfers and 1-year guys plugging holes and stuff,
COVID year.
Yeah, there's going to be, I don't know, the days of just kind of watching a team grow in front of you and develop, I think they're kind of over. It's more like there's 1 or 2 guys every other class that you'll be able to watch for 4 years and really get to know.
Yeah.
But we'll just have to adjust.
Yeah, I'm obviously going to root for whoever's wearing the Mizzou uniform, but it is weird for the people that maybe don't follow as closely as some of us do, and they're just wanting to see some familiar faces year to year. Yeah, that's going to be different for a little while.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I think the transfer portal will calm down, over the next few years, maybe a little bit, or not. But with the COVID year, whenever that extra year of eligibility is kind of out of the system, I think that you could maybe see a little bit of a, decrease in numbers. But that exists now. The phenomena of I've got 1 or 2 years, I've been really productive at a lower level, gonna go fill a role at a better team. I think that's just gonna be there now.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So 2 spots left, and there is a new development on the recruiting trail. Blair Oaks big man Luke Northweather visited Mizzou and got an offer officially.
Sounds like it, yeah. That was just this week. Kind of a guy who's been really under-recruited, it seems
2022 recruit.
Yes, until just in the last week or so. It seems like he's kind of blown up. Incredibly productive high school player. I think he's 6'10", 6'11", big guy. He averages almost 30 points a game. He can step out and shoot a little bit, but he does play it at a fairly low class, not great competition that he's playing against. So it's always kind of hard to tell how good he would be against better competition because he's not super athletic. Clearly he's gifted though. He knows how to score at any level. If you're scoring 30 points a game, you know what you're doing. And definitely could be a productive college player. I think he recently got an offer from Oklahoma. He's going to take a visit to Wisconsin this weekend, and who knows what could happen when he's there. So it sounded like Missouri kind of wanted him potentially to do a prep year, and then when other schools started getting involved, they're like, okay, we just got to ramp this up, and we're going to lose him if we don't offer him. So
I feel like this could go really quickly. Like in the next 2 weeks, I think I really do think we'll know where he's going to end up, because he's gonna capitalize on this momentum.
Yeah.
I think he'll be able to kind of read the situation and know he needs to go ahead and jump on one of these offers.
Mm-hmm.
He was the Gatorade Player of the Year for the state of Missouri, which they do not account for like competition, really, honestly. They just look at raw stats basically to name it, which is cool. Like, you shouldn't, for an award like that, you should be able to get that if you're playing at a lower class. It shouldn't just always go to the best, class 5 player. But I mean, it's just kind of interesting that one of these last 2 spots that are just newly available might go to this state of Missouri big man that we hadn't really heard much about more than a week ago. Yeah. I think Coach Gates is definitely still looking for like a rim protector. Mm-hmm. I don't know if Northweather, if he comes to Mizzou, is not going to be a contributor day one or year one or maybe even year 2. So, but we need those type of guys in the program.
Yeah, and just to balance the classes too. I think we have a lot of seniors, like a lot of guys who will play 1 or 2 more years. So, kind of wouldn't hurt to add another freshman. Yeah,
and a guy who is, if it's understood, not going to get a lot of playing time early, but we need you to develop into a piece, as an upperclassman. You need a few of those guys every year. That other open spot, I don't know. I feel like we still need a shooter. We still need a guard, but also, like I said, Gates definitely wants to get a rim protecting big man. I have apparently just been wrong about Diarra's role on next year's team, because I really thought you could slot him at the 5 and he could protect the rim some and, whatever.
Well, when you think of a guy who's 6'11", usually that's a guy who can do that, at least to some degree.
Offensively, whatever, you play stretch 4, whatever you want to do. But I really thought he'd be somewhat capable of guarding the other team's big man. But I think the staff would love to add a more traditional 5.
Oh, yeah.
Rim protector and finisher at the rim. So we'll see what happens there. But also, they've been in on other guards. And that brings us to Adam Miller. We talked about him when he entered the transfer portal, a month ago.
Yeah, we speculated about where he would fit into the lineup. Could he be a package deal with Penson?
Right.
We talked about that a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then kind of forgot about him.
Right. Everything's been so quiet on his recruitment. We haven't really heard, there hasn't been like a Final 5 or visits or anything like that from him. But there's been lots of Twitter rumors and drama surrounding him in the last 48 hours. There was people on Twitter that were like certain that he was coming to Mizzou, but those rumors have been contradicted by other rumors, and people that are supposed to know what's going on have been given conflicting information, apparently. So it's kind of been a whole saga now, and I don't know. From the outside, it's like, well, we might as well just, buckle up and see what happens, because there's it seems like the information is just all over the place right now.
Yeah, if he really were to be interested in Missouri, I think that's exciting. He kind of fills a role that we are in desperate need of, and definitely thought that was a role that Jason Roach could fill, but he committed to Richmond, which makes it almost more likely that it seemed like maybe Dennis Gates knew there was a bigger fish out there, that we had a realistic shot to land, which would obviously be Adam Miller. So I'd be really happy if he wanted to join for sure, but it just seems all over the place right now.
Yeah. If anybody's not sure who we're talking about, Adam Miller from Illinois, played freshman season at Illinois, transferred to LSU, got hurt, did not play at all last year, and just recently entered the portal again.
Yeah. Averaged like 8 or 10 points on a really, really good Illinois team as a freshman, and shot like 40% from 3.
Played a lot of minutes on a team that was a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
So, you could easily slot him into the 2 spot and never look back, I think, assuming he's fully recovered from his injury.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's a name that's out there to fill one of the last two spots. Like I said, a lot of conflicting information on, people really on Twitter were like all in on the idea that he was for sure coming to Mizzou. And then some of that got walked back, or there was new information. So do you think, give me a prediction. I'm putting you on the spot. Give me a prediction on Luke Northweather.
It's tough to know because I still think there's other guys that are a similar skill set that Missouri is interested in, but I'll say there is a 40% chance he ends up at Missouri.
Is another Power 5 team taking up a bunch of that 60%, or you think not Power 5 at all is more likely?
No, definitely Power 5. I think Oklahoma and Wisconsin both are players for sure.
And then Adam Miller. Like, there's literally nothing to go off of here other than pure speculation.
Give me 25%.
Okay, so then my last question here, as of right now, 2 spots left.
Mm-hmm.
Just how do you think it's going to break down? Are they going to take like 2 big men, a guard and a big man? Do you think that's what they're shooting for? Is a little more balance there?
I think in an ideal world, yeah. I think you add Adam Miller, and I think there's been a lot of rumors about Jamarian Sharp at Western Kentucky. He's a 7'5" big man who played for Kyle Smith-Peters at John A. Logan. He's not even in the transfer portal or anything like that. So
I wasn't even sure whether to bring him up or not, just because he's not in the portal yet.
Yeah, it just is a guy that could play probably at a higher level than he's currently at, and is has a strong connection with the current assistant coach. So he's got like 2 or 3 days to get into the transfer portal if he's going to do it. And if he does go in the transfer portal, then I think he ends up at Missouri, but we just don't know what's going to happen with that. So ideally, I think they'd like to have Adam Miller and Jamarian Sharp, but I think it looks more likely that it could be Luke Northweather and maybe one of those other 2 guys or something like that, or just somebody completely different that we haven't heard as much about yet.
Yeah, that's one of the things that is interesting is we had all those guys on campus, and their fates have kind of all been determined now. Mm-hmm. So there's not a lot of other names that are at the forefront as far as guys that Missouri is interested in. Do you think it's possible they bank a scholarship and just,
let it ride into next year? Yeah, it's certainly possible. The way they've kind of rebuilt this roster is there's a lot of guys that can contribute. Like, they're super deep. They could probably play 8 or 10 guys and rely on all of them in some degree to contribute. Mm-hmm. And, maybe they don't need to, fill that scholarship right now, because you're not going to play more than 10 guys. And so, honestly, when you look at the roster, almost every single body on the roster is somebody that I could see producing. So I don't know who's gonna not be. I don't know who's not gonna play when I look at who's on the roster. So, that's certainly possible.
I know that they're gonna Gates and Young are gonna be going after high caliber recruits. Like, they're gonna be going after 5-star guys that they have connections with already, and so it wouldn't. Yeah, like you said, wouldn't surprise me if they just kind of held on to that and tried to turn it into a top 100 guy next year. We did have a YouTube comment. He thought we were selling DeAndre Golston short, and he thinks potentially Golston could start at the 3. So I just want to get your thoughts on that. I guess that's possible. I responded and said that he just wasn't very efficient last year at Milwaukee, but that Milwaukee team was terrible, so he was being asked to do everything offensively, and he was more productive as a junior when the team was a little bit better. I don't know. I just think when you look at the efficiency metrics of guys like Hodge, they're just a step above as far as effective field goal percentage and true shooting percentage, and they're already pretty familiar with Gates' system. It's possible that Golston might be I really don't think he'll start very many games, but he could be one of the first couple guys off the bench. But I could also see him being the odd man out and not really getting a ton of minutes just because there's so much depth at the wing position.
Yeah, I mean, if the current roster right now was final going into the season, then and we don't add another shooter or anything like that, I definitely think it's possible that he could start at the 3.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that would happen, but that is in the range of outcomes potentially. But realistically, I think we will add somebody else that will take away from his minutes probably. And again, Demoy Hodge is a similar player potentially that I just see playing more minutes and is more efficient and has rapport with Gates. So
and defensively is a step above, I think.
Yes, and so I don't know. I think he'll absolutely play, 15 minutes a game or something like that. But I don't know that I see him being like a super high contributor.
Yeah, the problem is when you have so many guys that are kind of roughly the same level and same style of play, even somebody's going to be the odd man out, not getting a ton of minutes.
It could go anyway.
But I hope that what I would hope for him is that that we have better players starting and contributing consistently, but he is kind of like a offensive guy to bring in off the bench, and you could balance out his defense easily with like Gomillion, playing next to him and guarding the better offensive player.
Yeah, and in a normal year, whenever you bring in a mid-major transfer like that, that's been productive at that level and has 1 year left or something, then that usually fits the description for a guy that's going to come in and have a really cemented role and play a lot. But just because of the uniqueness of the situation where we literally don't know anything about anybody really playing for the Missouri, and we have a new coach and all that, I think it's a little bit different situation. And basically everybody almost fits that description of just a guy that's moving up and transferring in. So it's tough to see where everything's going to fall.
I just love that there's excitement for next year. I love that fans are kind of like figuring out the guys that they really like already just from looking at last year's tape and everything. And I think it'll be fun to see how everybody comes down on the new additions. And and of course we appreciate the YouTube comments. Helps the algorithm, and we like responding. That's about it, right?
Helps the algorithm, you said. I think that's
engagement helps the algorithm.
Yeah, we love you guys commenting. I think that's pretty much it. Just rumors, but I think that we could have news by next week for sure on an edition, and I would definitely keep an eye out for north weather for sure.
No more new spots. Do we agree that?
I think we agree on that. Yeah. Can we draw any conclusions from the people staying? Obviously, Kobe Brown and Noah Carter. I mean, not Carter. Ronnie DeGray are both, kind of similar position. Can we draw any conclusions that those guys feel like their roles have not been threatened as much? Does that mean Noah Carter maybe is more of a 3, Diarra's a 3 or a 5, or is it just madness and we have like a bunch of guys that will play the 4?
I don't know. It is interesting. I think potentially Ronnie DeGray having an additional year of eligibility versus Coleman and Davis, that might factor into it, where he could watch some of these seniors move on and then inherit a much more significant role next year. And that may be enough to keep him on board. I don't think it's certain that Gates was like, hey, I for sure want you 3 on next year's team. I think he kind of probably just said, we're going to recruit over everyone. Yep. And if you want to stick it out and see where you fall, please do. If not, there's no guarantees.
Is there any chance Kobe Brown does not start on this team?
I don't. I think he will start nearly every game next year.
I think I agree too, but I started thinking about that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's impossible.
Yeah, I agree.
That he could actually lose some minutes on this team.
Oh, for sure. Well, I think it would be healthy for him to lose some minutes if we have a little bit better squad, but I don't know. I think he'll be a holdover that whose role is more or less unchanged, maybe just not asked to create as much for himself and others offensively,
which will be great in my opinion. Okay, one more question for you.
Uh-huh.
Aiden Shaw, 3 or 4? Is he more of a
4.
wing? Okay, I feel like I've seen differing opinions. About where he's going to fit in,
and I could see that changing over the course of his career, and with a different roster makeup. If we were more big heavy to start, then I'd see him more of a 3.
Yeah, I think I agree. At least initially, it makes more sense for him to play the 4, I think, but could develop.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I hope we're talking about him as a 3, a tall, defensive-minded 3 who can step out and make shots from outside by the time that he's a junior, basically.
That's all Kyle's questions for today.
All right, good questions. We appreciate your comments, Kyle. I guess that's it for this week.
That's it.
Tune into the draft. Probably no Tigers going tonight, but there's always drama in the first night of the NFL draft. Teams trading and stuff, so that's always fun.
Any predictions for Tyler Badie landing spot?
Oh man,
completely on the spot. I
don't know. I'm not tuned into the running back needs of NFL teams enough. I would expect he would go to a team that kind of already has a pretty solid veteran that they give the ball to, on first and second down every time. So I don't even know what that means. Like,
give me the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay. In
the 5th round.
Wow. Yeah, that actually, now that you mention it, that's a great prediction. I'm going to go with that as well. It was on the tip of my tongue before you said it.
Yeah, I figured.
All right. Special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above: Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan Demore, Tristan, Ben Smith, Parker, Daddy JD, Luis Hernandez, Tim Keynes, and Tyler Harsel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcast. We are on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will see you next week after the draft.